What's up, my friends, and welcome to today's episode of Forte Catholic. I'm so excited that you are here. Today is a day of firsts. This is the first time that I'm recording in the new setup here in the living room. First time that I am recording with Allison Sullivan's background because we're in a time of transition here. First time that we have a new guest co-host joining the show for the first time in Peter Schmidt from Game of Favorites, and a first-time guest, long-time listener, Andy Shaggy Korty, to talk about his comics and a new project that he has coming out, Catholic comic creator. He's a great guy. So I hope that you enjoy today's show. If you do, please hit subscribe wherever you are watching or listening. Enjoy. What's up? And welcome to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll, and today we have a guest co-host joining the show for the first time, which is strange for a guest co-host. Usually I vet them through the guesting process, but I've been a guest on his shows multiple times. Peter Schmidt's joining me. Hello, Peter.
Well, hello. I'm super flattered to be here. And glad that I clearly don't need vetting. That's a big compliment. I appreciate that.
You need a vet, though. That's a whole different thing.
What are you talking about?
You're an animal. You're an animal.
I need a haircut.
I don't. Sad.
Well, yeah. So I was thinking, so I have a background in stats, and probably won't talk about numbers because who likes to talk about numbers?
Wow. Now I know why you're single. You brought up that within the first 30 seconds.
Listen, I was going to make a joke about averages. You know, I have extra hair. You have a little bit of a lack of hair. We average out. See, balance.
Yeah. Hashtag single. Today's episode is not brought to you by Catholic Match. So, Peter, I've mentioned your show a couple of times. You have, one primary and then a new one that's been going on Twitch. But you followed in my footsteps, my very large and intense footsteps.
Do that every day. Mm-hmm.
Doing your show full time. So explain the show to us, because I think people who have never heard it need explanation. And honestly, I think some people who have watched, like Allison Sullivan, need an explanation of what Game of Favorites is.
I've been doing this show for 4 years, and my parents still ask clarifying questions. Like, wait, what is this show?
Like, why is Taylor on again?
My mom and my dad have different tastes. My dad likes you on the show more than my mom does.
Oh, I thought it was the opposite. I remembered one of them not liking me, but I had it wrong in my head.
Well, I could have it wrong too. Okay. So I think that the way that I like to explain my show, it's called Game of Favorites. It's a Catholic comedy show. I like to give context first. So 4 years ago, 2017, I was watching a lot of Whose Line clips on YouTube.
That was 5 years ago.
4 years,
year of our Lord,
4 years and change. 5 years ago.
This year's almost over. Like, when did you start? December 31st?
Actually, yeah, December 14th, 2017 was our very first show.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I just haven't come around to saying 5 years yet. But yeah, we're getting 4 years and 10 months ago.
You sounded like Abraham Lincoln.
Goodness. So I was watching a lot of Whose Line, and I enjoy Whose Line. I think it's very funny. I don't always appreciate how much they lean on like crude humor.
That's why it's my favorite show of all time.
That's why we edit your episodes when you're on. But regardless, what my question was as I was watching that, I was just wondering, like, is there something that has a similar feel, but builds more on Catholic values? Like not
Forte Catholic.
Yes. So I didn't find you back then. So that was all a wash. So I said, well, if nobody else is doing this, clearly didn't know you, I'm going to do my own thing. And so I started the show. Game of Favorites was a placeholder name, and we just never changed it. But the idea, so the tone is wholesome Catholic entertainment, casual comedy. That's that. The structure of the show is supposed to be simple. I bring 4 people into a video call. I ask them questions, and I broadcast this all on Twitch. And they give me answers to the questions. I put those answers up on screen. The answers are all anonymous, and so then the chat can vote on what they think the best answer is, and then we award points and make fun of each other. So if you had points and voting in your show, then we would be running the same show. That's what I think.
Right. We do, and they're all awarded to me every week, and I constantly win. Which is funny. So, so twitch.tv/ptony, correct? That's the primary channel, right? I know you have like 87 offshoots because the first one was so popular. You had to have some offshoot shows. Like it's fun. Like all the Forte Catholic co-hosts have gone on and played against each other once. That was a blast. So the old ladies had no idea what was going on, which was very fun. I've been on quite a few times. One of my favorite times, it was actually a time that I wasn't on the show. So if you're not familiar with Twitch at this point, when John Blevins is one of these co-hosts, I don't know what to tell you, but most people on Twitch have like a minimum amount that you can donate. Essentially, it's like a little tip jar, right? So Peter has a tip jar, and one show that I was not on, I was sitting on an exercise bike in my gym towards the beginning of COVID, right? So it was like right after the gym opened, and I was just sitting on the bike. And usually I would bike for about 5 to 6 miles per session that I was there, right? Mm-hmm. But then I had this glorious idea, and I realized that Peter, during one of Game of Favorites, did not have a minimum amount donated. So like I could give 1 penny at a time. So I bought $5 worth of pennies. And what happens on the screen when you're watching Twitch is that if somebody donates, it takes over the whole stream. I just completely took over the show. I was not a guest that day. And I just kept throwing pennies at you, and you can't get mad at me because I'm donating and creating a culture where other people can donate. But that show definitely didn't happen, and I made a lot of enemies. But it was funny as heck, and I ended up biking 11 miles that night because I was so caught up in throwing pennies at you from afar that I forgot that my legs were tired. And I like barely made it back to my car.
Yeah, we do have a minimum bid alert now, and that is courtesy of Taylor Schroll. Yeah, what a time! You know, that's one of the things that I've learned. Like, we have a code of conduct behind the scenes, and like any good code of conduct, most of the rules in the code of conduct have stories that I don't always share behind them.
Right?
Yeah.
I love from grade school, I was the reason that rules exist, because like no talking in class when the teacher's talking, like that's a rule everywhere and everybody knows that. But like it's the weird rules, like, hey, we have to change our minimum donations because Taylor won't stop being generous to us.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I like just the visual of me throwing pennies at you. You live far away, so I couldn't do it to you. Mm-hmm. But a few weeks after that, maybe a couple of months, but it was always just kind of in the back of my head, like, hey, that was a fun evening. There's a guy, a friend of mine, we were in a men's Bible study together, and we all ordered lunch, and he was very generous. This was right when I was starting to become like early on being a missionary, so I was fundraising my salary and all these things, right? So he was very generous, and he makes good money, and he would buy my lunch at like, I don't know, 3 out of the 4 times that we met a month. And it was very kind. And then one time he complained because we went to a wings place, and I ordered wings, which is perfectly fine. But I also then said, hey, can I have some celery with it? And they charged us for the celery, which is so weird at a wings place. Like the celery comes with wings, right?
Yeah.
They charged us for it like 80 cents. So he said, you don't owe me for lunch, but you owe me the 80 cents for ordering extra. So when we left, I drove by, and because of you, I had all the change in like the little side thing in my car, like the little cup holder, and I just threw 80 cents at him, like pelted him with a nickel and a dime and a quarter and a few pennies, and that was all because of you. I'm assaulting my friends because of your Twitch show.
Wow. I thought that I was doing good work in the world, but I don't know if I am.
You've unleashed me.
I'm enabling you. Oh, you had a tweet recently where you said you could do anything you wanted if you just had the hair for it. And I remember meaning to reply to it and never getting around to it because that's how I interact with Twitter. But I wanted to say, look, we could team up. If you want to tell me what you want to be said, and then I'll say it with my hair.
But you don't have my blue eyes though. My blue eyes are
That's true. That's true. We'll have to do some like Photoshop.
Yeah, exactly. You can do like those mashups, of like guess who the mashup is on TikTok. That'd be very fun. Here's my thing with your show, and one of the reasons that I brought you on is you have found this niche of people that was for the most part not being reached, and the reason that I noticed that is because the reason that I noticed that you've built up this niche and you've built up this community on the Catholic Twitch sphere, the Catholic internet, is that I'm hilarious and I'm the funniest person that you've ever had on your show, and I've won once, and I usually get last place. I usually get last place. So like all these prompts that you give us, I've been watching stand-up comedy. I've been watching Who's Line. I've been watching, I've been hosting a show for 7 years. Man, like I'm very funny, and I never get my answers are never funny enough for your community. So you've built up this weird niche community. So one, how did you do it? And then two, why are they so weird and think I'm not funny?
Your second question, I'm going to leave to the comments. If anybody has a question, has a thought on why people might not find Taylor funny, there's a comment section on YouTube. There's reviews on Apple. Like I just, and those are all helpful for you, right? So I just wanted,
100%.
Mm-hmm, yeah. How I built it, community events is one invite at a time, I find. Like, especially when we were starting off, shucks, I had the same strategy as back in the day. I used to organize a lot of volleyball games. And the way I would do it is I would have a list of people.
I see how that translates into.
Hold on. Let me translate it. I've talked very roundabout. I'm working on it. I'm the sort of person that you could edit out 80% and still get the same points.
You served it. I spiked it. It's okay. We'll use your dumb volleyball reference.
That was exactly what I meant. No, but so if you want to organize a volleyball game, you have a list of names and you invite them. And in the early days of Game of Favorites, that was how, I would organize a show. It's an entertainment show, but it's also a bit of a game night. It's more and more entertainment show as we grow. But I would just invite people to it until I ran out of the social graces. That what am I looking for? Like you can only pester somebody so many times before they're like, hey, please stop, please just stop, please stop. But found people that enjoyed it and just invited them every week. I think it fits it fits a need or a want that a lot of people have, especially right after college. Like a lot of Catholic college kids have Newman centers that they can go to, and it becomes a community where they hang out in a home away from home. But right after college, suddenly you move and you lose all that. And the Newman Center, if there is a Newman Center in your city, like it's still, some people will still continue to hang out at the Newman Center, but it's not built for you, right? And you kind of need to find your own community in a young adult world. And that transition time, not as many people want to hang out. Like some people are starting families and things, and lots of people are moving, and there's not the same gathering spaces. And there's all these frustrations that people feel. Game of Favorites is a place where we can be a community that's just here to have some wholesome fun together. And it's very easy to enter into. You just have to, have a Twitch account and start talking to people, So I think that's how we grew. Just invites and being a good space.
So the fact that the community is a little odd reflects that its host is a little odd.
Yeah, I think you see, I maybe this discussion would be best off air.
No, it wouldn't.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. I don't track who wins. Well, I keep it in the database, but I don't remember who wins and who loses how often. So I wouldn't have known that you only won once, honestly. I remember how entertaining
You started
people
this
are.
conversation off by saying, within 30 seconds, you're like, I love stats and keeping stats. And then you're ending this first segment by saying, I don't know Eddie's stats.
I don't remember the stats. I just calculate them and store them and move on. No, like as a director of the show, if you will, I mean, what I care about is how entertaining are we on screen, which is very different than how entertaining are the answers and are the answers getting votes. Like that's not the same. Some folks are very entertaining with their voice and maybe their face, and other people might be more entertaining with 60 characters on a screen. Like it's a bit different type of different type of comedy. I think you fill the screen very well.
Is that a fat joke
no,
on my show?
It was meant to be a volume joke, but then it came out wrong.
Okay,
Sorry.
so I invite you to be a guest co-host, and you call me fat, bald, and
the listeners are gonna love me. That's what I think.
I see how it is. That's how I feel about being on the show. It's like I feel like on your show is that I feel like people enjoy me being there, but just refuse to vote for my answers.
I've been a contestant a few times, I think like 3 or 4, and I have never gotten better than 3rd place, if that is any consolation. But you already think you're funnier than me, so it probably isn't.
Oh, it's not just a thought. I mean, it's empirical data. I have my own stats on my computer. Jokes per minute, laughs per show. I've got it all right there. Will I ever reference it? No, because I learned from the best statistician I know. Okay, well, that's enough about you on my show. I have a confession to make.
Yeah,
and it's a very, very odd confession. Typically, how this show works is that we record the week before it comes out. So like the show comes out on Tuesday afternoons on YouTube. It comes out at midnight on Wednesday night. So typically record like the Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday before that, right? So typically when I'm looking ahead, like I have to be like, hey, the Halloween episode, we have to record that the week before and talk about it. Otherwise, it'll be too late. And then it's like mid-November or the middle of the first week of November. Nobody cares. Same with like Christmas. It's like, especially with Christmas, it's like we're all going to be traveling. So we'll record the Christmas episode in like the second week of December because we have to get guests and co-hosts. But typically we're a week ahead. So when Allison and I recorded last week, I thought it was for this week's show. So we started off last episode by saying that it was going to be my birthday. That by the time everyone has heard this, my birthday was going to have happened on Tuesday. So if you watch on YouTube, you only have like 6 hours, so I'm not going to yell at you, but you would have listened on my birthday. But most people the next day, the next few days, that's when most people listen. It would have already have been my birthday because my birthday is Tuesday and the show was coming out Wednesday. What I didn't realize is that Allison and I kept rescheduling our recording because both of our lives were kind of crazy that week. So we ended up recording that on Monday. And so since it was 1 week, I thought it was going to come out the following week. Well, it came out the next day. So I spent all of last week getting very confused DMs and messages and tweets saying, happy birthday, Taylor. I'm so, thank you for the show, or hey, enjoy your day, whatever, right? People were being so kind, but then a few people were also like, why is no one else wishing this person that seems to have a community around him? Why is no one else wishing him a happy birthday? So the chosen few were wishing me a happy birthday. And you know why, Peter?
Mm-hmm.
Because my birthday, as this episode is coming out, is today, or it happened yesterday if you're listening on Wednesday. I was a week ahead and got my own birthday episode wrong. So all week last week I was like, why are people sending me birthday messages? It's because I recorded with Allison thinking it was a week late and it was not. So that's my weird community that I've built. People who will strangely wish me happy birthday and be like, I mean, happy birthday, but why am I the only one saying this?
That's interesting. I don't know if I've ever... Okay, yeah, no, when I wish somebody a happy birthday, I don't look at who else is wishing a happy birthday. I think this is a great opportunity. You like attention, right? You just get more birthday attention. And that's I don't know if that's a healthy thing, but it'll be something you enjoy, right?
Right. So, like, I think one of the reasons that I have always kind of been averse to like birthday week or birthday month is kind of like my tendency to pride. I don't want to make the whole week or month about
Sure.
me. And especially over the last like my wife and I got married a decade ago. Our youngest child is 5 years old. So I can't have birthday month because my daughter's birthday is October 12th. My
Mhm.
wife's birthday is October 18th. My birthday is the 25th. So like everybody gets a week. Like it's Felicity's week and then my wife's week and then my week. But if you're tracking and paying attention, I was getting happy birthday wishes on my wife's birthday. So I not only like I don't like birthday month, but I was stealing the thunder from my wife's birthday and I hated that.
Did she take that okay? How did that go?
She doesn't know until she's listening to this right now because they were all private DMs. Or she could probably hear me from the other end of the house, if we're being honest. She's finding out with you.
That's fantastic. Well, happy birthday to your wife. That's delightful.
Yeah, so everybody said, so I got all my birthday wishes a week early. Send them to her a week late as you're listening to this. I just felt so dumb. Like I thought I was being so proactive and getting, like working ahead, normal flow. And no, I'm an idiot. So it was very funny because I don't want to disparage anybody who was incredibly kind to me. People were very, very nice and sending me messages for happy birthday. But what they didn't know is that every time they wished me a happy birthday, they were reminding me of how stupid I am. So I was like, thanks, but I feel real dumb about this whole situation.
No, I totally get that though. Like working with a lot of different people's calendars, being off by a week, that happens.
Yeah, for real. It's so funny. So I just thought it was kind of funny that, I knew you were going to come on. We were going to talk about this strange community that you've built at Game of Favorites on twitch.tv/btony. And here I am confusing my very loving audience. Speaking of the audience, we're going to take a little break. Whenever we come back from break, it's an interview that I did with Catholic Comics creator Andy Shaggy Korty, who's been a supporter and listener of the show for quite some time. We're going to talk to him about one of his upcoming projects about using art within Catholicism and within the quote-unquote secular world. And then Peter will rejoin me for our final segment today. Do not go anywhere. As mentioned, today is my real birthday and not last week like I thought it was going to be. It's a whole confusing thing. If you've been paying attention, you know what I'm talking about. But in honor of the good old birthday of yours truly, if you would like to support the work that we're doing at Forte Catholic, that's what I would invite you to do as a birthday present. So we are a Catholic 501c3 nonprofit, so all of your donations are tax deductible, and it helps us to continue making this show, other great shows. It helps us to continue to expand and grow. I have a lot of ideas of things that I can't really do yet because I have to focus on some of the projects that we have now that are income driving. So if I could, have some more donations, I could focus on creating more content, which is what I know you enjoy. So you can do so at fortecatholic.com/donate. That's fortecatholic.com/donate. You can become one of our monthly supporters or just give a one-time donation in honor of my birthday. Thank you. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll, and I am joined by super fan of Forte Catholic and incredible comics creator, Andy Shaggy Korty. Andy, welcome to the show, buddy.
What's up? How's it going, guys?
It's nice to see you. It's nice to hear you. I know it's funny. We interact just about every week, as the show's coming out. You're a very avid listener. You've been listening for a very long time. And you and I have gotten to meet in person. We got to go to a pub when I was up in Indianapolis for a conference. I guess there were concerts at it, but for a conference, and we finally got to meet in person after years of only interacting online. So it's good to finally have you on the show.
Yes, I believe I'm the most rabid fan.
Yeah, because I think we got rabid and ravid confused, and I think I called you rabbit at one point.
Yeah,
very funny.
The foam is luckily staying in at the moment, so
good. Yeah, you look like a mixture of Keanu and Jesus, and sound like a mixture between Jesus and Fergie. So we've got a lot going on here. I want you to introduce yourself. I know that you've been the reason that I really got connected with you is through your comic books. So if I was stuck in an elevator and or stuck in a Zoom call with you for 30 seconds, how would you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Andy Shaggy Korty. I make comic books. Well, by day I make signs and do design work and things like that. By night I work on comic books and sketch cards. You know, of everything from superheroes to saints, horror stuff. I really like horror and monster comics. Um, like that's a lot of fun to me. But at the same time, like I really try to promote the faith, um, which has an amazing amount of horror aspects to it. So to me, they kind of walk hand in hand.
Yeah, I've seen your Saint Sebastian Saint card. You're very, very much mixed. There's a lot of the Saint cards that have like their martyrdom, and there is like, I mean, that's not an exciting thing to have watched. Like we all glorify it now. It's like I don't think I would have want to watch if I was there.
Yeah, I don't want to glorify death. There's too many of a certain type of Catholic that think that they're going to go out with a red martyrdom. And while there are lots of martyrs within the faith nowadays, uh, here in the United States, pretty much mostly white martyrdom, not red. But like one of the things that Julius Caesar had said is it's easy to find 100 men willing to die for you. It's difficult to find 10 men who are willing to suffer for you.
Oh, I hadn't heard him say that. Yeah, it's very true, but I didn't realize that. I had heard similar things from like Christian sources, so it's cool to hear that Aurelius Caesar got it too.
Yeah, and he's not wrong. Like that was part of the fall of the Roman Empire. Is I mean, one they were spread too thin, um, and there was some betrayal that happened. But like the suffering that people had to go through for the sake of the empire, like they got sick of it, you know. And but marching into battle, it's not hard, might not make it back, but to actually suffer 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, nobody wants to go through it.
You merely adapted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. Yeah, no, and it's cool. So, like, going back to like what you do, it's like one of the things that I really enjoy is like within your comics creation, it's like you're doing the things that you care about, right? So you have this horror and mystery element that you really enjoy, and you also have this your faith that's just very important to you, right? So you have quote unquote secular comics that you put out, but then you also do the faith thing as well. And I've seen it's like 50-50 for you, right? Like you have been very generous with Forte Catholic and gifting us Saint cards that we then get to gift to donors. And back when we did Patreon, all that kind of stuff. And now I'm able to give them out to current supporters. And like when I go travel, I can give, we'll play games with kids, and it's like, hey, if you win this game, I've got this Saint card for you. Like they've been really cool, right? And I really really enjoy them because I'm a huge comic books guy. But there's something that you're doing here pretty soon. I mean, literally within days from when we're recording this, you have a big project coming up for the month of November. Why don't you explain it to me? Because you've told me, and I'm still a little confused. So tell me about it.
Taylor, you follow me on all the social medias that I'm on.
Yeah, MySpace, Parlor, LinkedIn. Yeah.
Actually, LinkedIn might be the only one that we don't follow each other on. Um, so so right now you've seen me putting out some more of my horror side of stuff, because I'm currently going through a thing called Drawloween, and my oldest daughter is doing Inktober. Both of these were created by artists who just said, like let's do something to create more artwork. And have some fun with it. Something to kind of stimulate the creativity. And what it does is they have like a list of prompts, and those prompts maybe say like a phrase, like the prompt for today in particular is for Drawloween is shave and a scare cut. And so you would draw something based with that theme. Okay. I wanted to do something similar. There's several prompt things. It's not just Inktober and Drawloween. There is in May, there is Merry May, which is different Marian apparitions and Mary titles. That one was created by the fantastic Amy Rodriguez. Her art is absolutely amazing. There is also Mermay, which is all mermaid themed.
It's Merman!
In March, there is March of the Robots. So like every few months, another one of these comes cropping up. And so in November, well, I mean, we start the month with All Saints Day, and then the next day is All Souls Day. And I was like, like really, October is nothing more than preparation for All Saints Day. So let's make that whole month saints, So the Holy Spirit like really was nudging me on this. And I was just going to do it for myself at first. And so I created a prompt list using just some random words, but some were also specific towards, I won't even say Catholicism. I'll just say specific towards Christianity. Because a lot of this, I want other denominations to feel like they could participate in this if they wanted to.
You can be cool, other Christians, as a treat. Just a little.
Yeah.
Just a little.
And I mean, like, that's not to say that other denominations don't, value the saints. The Lutherans do to a certain point, the Methodists do to a certain point, Episcopalians do for a good chunk of it, and Anglicans. But the prompts are generic Christian words. Another day, the word is chasuble, the poncho looking thing that the priest wears. There's any number of saints that you could pick from that wore a chasuble because of being a priest. Actually, I found the saint that I'm going to draw for chasuble is fantastic because his skin was flayed off of him in the shape of a chasuble. So
That's
like
incredibly gross.
It is, but it's also
it's
amazing.
So you.
It is me. It is very me.
I don't think you've given the name for this whole November thing. I don't think you've said it at all. You've given us the examples.
I haven't yet. So when, like I said, the Holy Spirit was really pushing me to do this, and as I was like making the list and everything, it struck me that this might actually be good for not just me but other people, which is why I picked some generic words. And I couldn't come up with a name, and I was like, well, it's in November, it's doing artwork, which is not to say that it has to be specifically drawings, guys. Like you want to write a poem, do it. Write a poem. I'm inviting you to use whatever art you use, but the arts is kind of how it's done around. So we've got Nove Arts, and the Holy Spirit hit me with it, and I just laughed like a lunatic for at least 10 minutes. My family was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "It's going to be called Nov Arts Ordo.
That's so funny. When you messaged it to me, I died laughing. I think it's hilarious.
I know, right? Like, okay, so the name is because November, the arts, and the Holy Spirit is hilarious. So he
Right.
went with Nov Arts Ordo.
It's very funny. It's very funny. So, people can follow along. You'll be drawing to, to these themes. Other comic creators are going to be drawing along. So, I think the best way for people to follow along is the two primary ways that I follow you, and you can add on any others if I miss them. We joked about the joke social medias earlier, but the primary places for me is Andy Shaggy Korty on Instagram and on Twitter. So
Yep.
not only is it your art, but there's also a hashtag going on. Explain that to the people. They can participate.
So you can also follow me on Facebook, which is also Andy Shaggy Korty, um, with a Korty.
It'll be down in the show notes.
Awesome. The hashtag is Nov Arts Ordo, like NOVARTS ORDO. And if you would please post that with any artwork that you do, and when I say artwork, like I said, I don't care if the Holy Spirit inspires you to do a dance that somehow tells the story of this saint, or you do more traditional art, or maybe it's just a quick sketch. Whatever, you post it, use that hashtag, and let's teach people about the saints. Let's learn ourselves about more saints, and let's have fun with it. Like, let's be creative, you know. And if you use that hashtag, I can find it and I can retweet it. I can share it. I can. I'm gonna have to download repost so that I can repost, people's stuff. But like, I really want to help people learn more about the saints, because there's such a wide variety of saints, um, out there with checkered pasts, with weird things that have happened in their life, with fantastic miracles, and most of us only know the popular ones. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's so much more there. We have a huge cloud of witnesses.
Yeah, I love it. And you, as a rabid listener of the show, as we like to call you, know that the Saints is one of the places that I lack in my knowledge of just this plethora of saints that we have. So I'm looking forward to following along on social media. I can't draw my name legibly, but I'm gonna have my daughter, who is a very good artist. I'm gonna have her participate and do some of them. So you'll see that on my social media. You'll see it on Andy Shaggy Korty on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow Nov Arts Ordo. Follow the challenge. All the links are down in the bio, down in the description. Andy, thanks for taking this time out with us, man. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for listening, guys. Don't go anywhere. I will be right back for more Forte Catholic. I'd love for you guys to check out our friends over at the Ave Spotlight podcast. If you want to hear more about life from a Catholic perspective, listen to host Chanel Shaw talk with special guests about culture, current events, and all things Catholic. You'll walk away with a better understanding of your faith and how to live it in the world today. Check out Ave Spotlight podcast and make sure you hit subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast so that you don't miss any of the new and exciting episodes. You can also sign up for all the free content at AveMariaPress.com or by following Ave Maria Press on your favorite social media app. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll, and I'm rejoined by our guest co-host for today, Peter Schmidt. And I mentioned earlier that Peter is incredibly single. I didn't say it earlier, but we talked about his gorgeous hair, and he has locks. So he is Catholic, has hair, and is single. So ladies, connect with him on twitch.tv/PTony and, slide in those DMs and wish him a happy birthday a week early, So, and no, nothing you want to say to that? Okay, cool.
No.
So you kept, for those not watching on the video, you kept trying to interject. You're just like, there's no point.
Yeah. Well, one of the running jokes over on my show is that it's actually a dating show, and I've just given up fighting it. I just can't. Yeah, but it just haunts me. It's great. Thank you.
No,
Thank you for bringing
anytime
it back.
you get Catholic young adults together. It's going to be
That's true. That's true.
Thing. I mean, it's like, this is our only shot to find a good Catholic man or woman. So it's not working in real life. So let's go on Friday evenings to play Game of Favorites or whatever day you're playing now. On the internet, I'll meet people who live 13 states away.
Or maybe in Ireland. You never know. Yes. So
you think, I mean, I think, and you think that you're a pretty good catch. I mean, you're Catholic. You're running your own business. You got beautiful hair.
This is not the segment that I prepared for.
It's about to be. You're a good-looking guy, but there's one drawback to your life, Peter.
Yes.
And that is, like you and anyone else who decides to, serve the Lord and try to do something new and different, is that you're poor, and you would like to talk about that poverty. So, I mean, ladies, if there's a sugar mom out there, then this is the man for you, because here's our segment. You wanted to talk about poverty, so let's talk about poverty.
Wow, what an introduction! I do have a Patreon. If okay, never. Let's see. No, this is. It is interesting to think about poverty since I'm very much living hand to mouth. But also, like, I don't know. Like, this wasn't supposed to be a section about me. That's what the last one was about. This was supposed to be talking about poverty in general. It is odd, like, being someone who's poor, but also, like, I have an iPhone, I have a car, I have a desktop computer and a laptop. I even have a VR headset from another time that I just got out of storage and I'm working on setting up.
Number one rule about poverty: if you own a VR headset, you cannot talk about poverty.
Yeah, right? That's such a. I mean, like, if I'm really poor, then how did I spend money on a VR headset? Like, this kind of odd. But that also, like, okay, so I was listening to a podcast that was talking about poverty, and generally they talk about money from a Catholic perspective. And I don't agree with everything they say, but I do frequently find myself being challenged when they speak and wrestling with interesting ideas.
It's a good approach. I like that.
Yeah. That it's like anytime I have a conversation with Taylor.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to teach people, both with what I say and how they interact with me.
But okay, so on this podcast, as a working definition for poverty, and we're talking about the virtue of poverty versus like being impoverished. Like, we're not talking about being destitute and not being able to cover your own means, your own responsibilities and needs. So like what they were talking about with poverty is when you can cover what you need in life and then give the excess away and depend on God to sustain you. Which, you know, like, it's as a working definition that can get you pretty far. And I probably didn't say it exactly how they did, but close enough, I'm sure. But the point that they were drawing out and that I've been continuing to wrestle with is, what is excess? What is surplus? And in today's world, it gets really difficult to parse that out, I think. Like, for example, basic human needs, I don't need a car. However, the way that the world is structured today, it would be really hard to live life without a car. So we've created a need that isn't innate to us, where everyone needs a car. Or like the concept of like, I don't know, retirement and accounts and things. You know, like, there is an expectation that, I mean, the responsible thing to do is to take care of your own future by investing in retirement accounts and things, right? But that also kind of runs contrary to the idea of giving away excess and depending on God, because now every single dollar that you get needs to be invested in something. Every dollar is needed, no matter how many you have. And so suddenly it's very difficult to actually know what is extra money and what you can give away in generosity and what you need. So that's,
yeah.
As somebody who is definitely not hitting the mark of having excess, I'm just thinking about that in philosophical terms, I suppose, and just, you know, judging anybody who has a real job.
Right. Yeah. I think there's the things that have helped me, right, is that like one is that's why I love the idea of, for most people, the idea of like a 10% tithe, right?
Yeah.
That, like that's not, I know it's not a quote unquote rule, but it's just a very good barometer of like, if everybody has that, then everybody's quote unquote doing their part, right? Now, I think it can get crazy. Like when you're like the Elon Musks and when you hit that amount of wealth, like you should probably be donating or doing charitable work with a little bit more than 10%, because at that point you do have quite a bit of excess, right? But I think for most people who aren't going to be like that level of wealth, like most people listen to the show, most people who are good Catholics, it's like I have people who support me on a monthly basis that make less than I do. I have people who support me on a monthly basis that make I can't even do the math of how many times more money they make, right?
Right.
But those richer people are able to give their 10% is, a third of my income, like their donation, right? So I think having that helps with just like that heart posture of like, giving back to God, giving back to the community. Because then if you're making, let's see if I can do math well from the stats. The stats guy can help me out, right? So if I make $10,000 a year, then I'm giving away 1,000, right? If I make $100,000 a year, then I'm giving away 10,000. How much is it if I make $1 million? 100,000? Yeah. So like, that's still like, that's quite a bit of money. Like think about that, right?
Right.
Like if somebody, and I've seen stuff like this. JJ Watt, I just saw him. I love him. He's a Houston Texans player for years. He's not on Texas anymore. He's on Arizona. But like when Hurricane Harvey hit Houston, he raised like, I think it was like $30 million, like just an incredible amount of money. And then he gave a bunch of money to, now anytime there's a tragedy, somebody, like there was a story this week of some lady selling her JJ Watt signed jersey so that she could afford a funeral for one of her loved ones. Right. And he heard about it and said, keep the jersey. And he paid for everything. He paid for the whole funeral and everything. He's done this with like other like school shootings, deaths in the family, whatever. Right. If he hears about it, he's given his money. So I think he's given way more than 10%, because he has hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank. But like, I think that just that posture of like seeing a need and filling it when you know that you can.
Yeah.
That's really helped me.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I remember, that reminds me a bit of, I used to be in a religious order for a while and discerned out. But while I was there, I went on a fundraising tour, and some of the benefactors that we met, who many of them were living comfortable lives financially, let's say. But I don't know, like the perspective that we get is that the rich are greedy, and a lot of them may be. But it was rather inspiring to see a lot of these benefactors, how they just wanted to be generous. Like I remember we were driving somewhere, in this was down in Georgia, in the middle of the summer, and our car didn't have air conditioning. So we got to our first place we were going to stay at, and the benefactor learned that we didn't have air conditioning. The priest that I was with may have strategically brought that up, and so this benefactor was like, there's no way, you cannot drive that car. And so they gave us their BMW for the next leg of the journey. Well, they took our car into the shop and said, would you circle back? You can have your car back. But for now, here's the BMW. And it was like, wow, all right.
Ironically enough, it hurt your fundraising, because you pulled up to all your other fundraising meetings in a BMW.
Do you need money? I mean, yeah, it's not our car. Listen, it's complicated.
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's funny.
It was wild. But like that generosity of like, first of all, they wanted to be part of our mission, and that's what the conversations were much more about. Like from what I've heard of the fundraising world, one of my favorite phrases I've heard is we give by going, they go by giving. The idea that we both want to do good work for the Lord. Some of us have time, which is a limited resource. Some of us have money, which is a limited resource, and we can team up, and that's an enjoyable thing that can do a lot of good. But yeah, no, it was kind of inspiring to see how they wanted to make their money work for God's kingdom, and I think that's a cool thing to see.
It's interesting because, like, I think often the like you mentioned, like the assault is on the rich, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to look at myself whenever I was fundraising. I mean, I've worked in youth ministry for years. I was fundraising. Now I run a nonprofit. It's not like we're swimming in cash over here, right? But we're doing better now than we were when I first started fundraising. I was literally making $0 and had to build it up from there, and like those first couple of years were like really hard. And I was not giving 10%. At times I was not giving anything because it's like, I just needed to, like I didn't have much. So I was very holding close to what I had. And like,
Right.
there is a part of it that was like, there was a part of me that was like, I need this money. Like, we don't have any extra, even that 10% to give to God. Right. And it was kind of that idea of like, oh, I'll give my time instead because I didn't have any money. And there are going to be, quote unquote, seasons in life like that. Right. But that also kind of created a posture in me that when I started making a little bit more money, it wasn't, let's say I made 10% more and we were able to live, and then I made 10 extra %. I did not give that 10 extra % to God.
Right.
I made my life a little more easy, gave myself a little bit more leverage, a little bit more relaxing, right? And like part of that is good, but over time, I doubled my salary, right, from $3 to $6. Like I was able to, like, I did have some margin to be able to start giving again. And so I started giving, but it was like 2%, 4%, 5%, right? And it was like just recently, I probably need to go look at it. This is probably a reminder of like, I'm giving way more than I used to, money amount, right? But it has the percentage changed. I don't think it has. I think I'm still probably not quite to that 10%. And again, that's not a hard and fast rule, but it's just a good heart posture thing. And it brought up like we I guess my point is like we all struggle with this. It's not just the rich, it's not just the poor, it's not just the middle class. It's like everybody, it's this posture, and kind of like what you were saying like at the beginning, it's not about being poor, but about that living the virtue of poverty in all of our lives, whether you're me, you, or a billionaire listening.
Yeah, exactly. And that was, it's been really, so you talked about tithing time, and that's been something that I've been thinking about recently, because like I don't know, I'm at that $3 range right now, I don't know if I can tithe financially when at the same time I'm living off of the generosity of, like, I'm not paying rent, I'm being donated a place to live, which is incredibly generous, and I'm very grateful for it. But also like giving to the Lord in some way. I've been wondering, like, should I approach the local church and say, hey, I want to give 10% of a work week every day as my tithe? Because I think that is something that I can actually do right now, as opposed to, the money that I don't have.
Right. I think one of the there's a, I've been donating quite a bit of time to my local church, and essentially I have kind of, not that it's, again, not a perfect one-to-one comparison or hard and fast rule, but it's like, I was like, if I was to travel and give the talks that I'm giving every week at our parish, I'd make $500 to $1,000 a pop, and I'm doing it for free for 10 weeks at a time, that's 30 sessions a year that I'm just donating to my local parish. So that's anywhere from 15,000. What am I doing? Yeah, like $15,000 of time that I'm just donating. It's like, that's a lot of money. So there is like, a lot of times it is like, what are your skills? How are you? What skills do you have? How can you give back to the community? And like putting a money value on that can be helpful.
Yeah. I think like one of the big takeaways, and I think that I took from the podcast is, which you're also talking about, like the idea that tithing and poverty isn't just a checkbox that you check off, like it's something that you discern, and it's something that it's important to like check back in on and make sure that you're renewing your dependence on God, you're renewing your generosity, you're renewing your sense of looking out at what are the resources that I have that can help other people and the church. And, that's a continual, like most virtues, you're either growing or you're not. And if you're not, you're probably falling back. Right. But yeah, no, what I very much appreciate about this podcast was it encouraged me to take a second look at poverty and reflect on it in a much deeper and more personal way than I think I have before. And that's been wild. It's just been good.
Yeah. My wife and I, we've been chatting a bit about money because, like, she got her job, so we have an increase in how much our household makes, over the last few months. And we also, did the cash out refinance of our house, so we got this like big influx of money, and it was like there were things that we kind of had to do, like major repairs to the house that were very expensive that we needed to do. You mentioned saving. We had never saved a penny in our lives before, and we were able to take some of that money and put it towards our retirement accounts that we just created, right? But now it's interesting, and I've been in this scenario multiple times where it's like I know the right answer, right? I probably need to go look at it. I probably should be donating a little bit more percentage, but at the same time, like, there are things. The next big purchase that we need to make is a bed. I am not sleeping well. It affects my entire life. It makes me grumpy. It makes me tired. Health wise, it's not good. It makes like everything. The show's not as good. My work's not as good. Like all of that stuff is because I'm not sleeping well, right? So that's the next thing that we need to make, and it's going to be like a $4,000 to $5,000 purchase. Like that's a big purchase, right? And that would make me very happy the day we get it, and it would make me happy for a very long time because it would improve my entire life over the course of the 7 to 10 years that the mattress lasts, right? So I'm trying, like, in my mind, I am saving up for that next big purchase because we made all these other house renovations that were more. It's like we have this is a need, and then this is like a very high want, and all these things, right? With the bed, like health, like for my health and for my just being able to work well, the bed is very close to a need, right? Like, but there's other things that are cheaper that would make me happy right now that are alluring me, and that's dangerous. Like, I would love to spend $500 and put a new TV up, where in the new setup that we have in here. I would love to. You mentioned like your computer, your phone. It's like I have a computer and phone and video games and all these, like all those little purchases. I could make them, and they would make me happy, and it would improve my life in some amount for a limited time, for whatever. But like, it is way better for me in the long run to save up for that bigger purchase that'll make my entire life better. So like, that's kind of the thing is I think it's, we talk, you see all the time that like poorer neighborhoods have very nice cars and very big TVs, right? Because it's like, I can't afford a nicer house, or I can't afford to save. I can't afford, retirement. I can't afford, college for my kids or whatever, but I can't afford this nice thing. And like, we all want to have some pride in things that we own, right? Some of that healthy pride. But that's just, it's interesting that you wanted to talk about poverty and money, is because like I lived in poverty for a very long time, and I'm out of it, but there's still some of that poverty in me. And I'm trying to work through that like decision-making process.
Yeah. That is really interesting. Yeah. I don't have a reply to that, but that was good to listen to.
Yeah, the reply is you just need to be like, yeah, save for the bed. That's the correct reply.
Yeah. Well, you were already there.
Yeah, I'm struggling, man. I almost went to Best Buy yesterday for the TV. So
no, I get that.
I'll get it eventually. I just need to be patient and wait. So. Well, that is our show for today. Peter, I want to thank you for coming on, and this was good. It was good to talk to you. Usually there's other people yelling and interrupting our incredible comedic genius. So the fact that we were able to hang out today was very good. So twitch.tv/ptony, PTONY. All the links will be in the description. Anything, you want some final words here?
Yeah, I wanted to say I've heard a lot of debates about the proper speed to listen to podcasts at. And I just want to weigh in and say that the proper speed is 1.2. That's
you're kicked off the show. I'm Taylor. I'll be back next week. Peter, thanks for joining us. Adios. See ya. Thank you guys for watching and listening today. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure that you hit that subscribe button wherever you are watching or listening. Y'all are the best. I will be back next week. Until then, have a great day.